Hey guys, we are now on part 3 of our Discovery Refit Enterprise, so let's get right to it. This is what those windows look like before I put any putty on them. As you can see, very offset. And here's the putty. A lot of it. A ton of it. I think this took about 5 rounds of putty before I was actually satisfied with what it looked like, but this is round 1 here. Having fun, guys. Having fun. And after several rounds of putty, this is the result. I still have some wet sanding and a little bit of cleanup here and there, but that is looking pretty silky smooth. In fact, I'm having trouble seeing where some of those are. So guys, persistence pays off. I did take these windows out after a few rounds of putty. It wasn't lining up, it wasn't flush. I didn't like it. Still have the piece here, but yeah, it just didn't look right. So I do have extra windows if I need them. And something else I completely forgot about. Yeah, this is a jig. This is a jig for your windows. So we'll be using that when we're going to kind of recut these windows here. We've recut, replaced, and re-puttied the secondary hull arboretum windows. They're pretty close. I have a little bit of work to do, a little bit of wet sanding there. I did sand off most of the detail below that grid line that's above the windows, just because it was looking weird to have these blank spots, and I didn't want to have to rescribe all that, so just got rid of it. The package that I've been waiting for has finally arrived. So let's crack it open and see what's inside. What is this? He sent me a hamster nest. I don't even have a hamster. And here are all the parts that SDM Productions sent me. We just initially wanted to do a couple, but he went above and beyond the Call of Duty here. So let's look at these bridges. These are light transmittable bridges, and I'm not going to call them clear, but as you can see when I pull my flashlight out, you can get light to go right on through there, so you could mask off areas that you want lit or didn't want lit. And there are 2 different versions, one without the cutouts and one with the cutouts. Then we have these opaque bridges where he just cut out the sections that I want. And yeah, there are ridges on here, but after a couple coats of primer, those pretty much vanished. So you can see you got the non-cutout and the cutout versions right here, with holes for the top and the window. And then he sent, of course, little pieces for those. And that snaps right in there. It literally snaps right in there. Just you can hear it click when it goes in there. And then he sent little windows here. 2 different versions. Just pull one of them up here. And then here's the other one. And I'm going to just stick this in here today. Sometime. I promise it goes in there. There we go. Yeah, that looks really nice. And of course you can light underneath that. I'll just have to stick a LED in there, and then that'll illuminate the dome and the window just like I wanted. Now we have the fronts of the nacelles. These are not the Enterprise. These are from the Reliant. But they look really nice. I like them. They were quite different shape. You don't think it... Oh, there's my failed attempt at doing the other one, so yeah, let's just toss that. But yeah, I love these things. We'll have to re-drill some holes, and I'll have to mask some stuff off, but yeah, these are really smooth. And he did a little sanding and putty work on these, which surprised me. He didn't really need to do that, but hey, he did it. Here is for that light that goes on the saucer that lights up the registry. This is the grill part of that. And again, he did sand and putty those. And then, of course, he sent me a really cool insert that goes on behind there. Kind of looks like Geordi's visor now that I'm thinking about it. But yeah, that's going to look really cool on the ship. And let's see, what do we do? Oh, these are for the sides of the nacelle. those are the little caps that go on the side. He did two different versions of these. One that was more squared off, and then he did the traditional round ones right here. I'm going to be going with the squared off ones just because they have a unique look, and I like the ridges on them a little bit better than the rounded ones. And then, of course, our grills. Look at all that. Look at all that. Oh my gosh. Inserts and the grills themselves. Here's the outboard grill right here. And he gave me clear and blue, just in case I want to do a little bit different lighting instead of just the traditional blue. But I think I'll be going with these blue ones because they look phenomenal. There's a sheen to these that might not be caught on the camera that's really cool. It's almost it's hard to describe. It's kind of a metal flake almost look to them. It's really neat. But as you can see, those transmit light very well. So those are going to be easy to light up. But the parts I was really excited about were the inboards. And he gave me a bunch of choices for those. Clear, and then just a blue transparency here. That goes on the back. So if you wanted a more indented look for those, you have it. Or the ones I'll be using, and these are awesome. This is my favorite part right here. You can actually see the ridges, and they're very, very fine ridges. And maybe you can see a little bit of that sheen I'm talking about there. But those things just kind of clip into place here. It takes a little bit of fiddling, but not much at all. And they just clip on the back of here and go right in. And they look really cool. I love how they look. They just look awesome. And of course they transmit light very well. You can see it right there. So cool. And I can't thank SDM enough for all these parts. This was such a great contribution to the build. I'm just flabbergasted, really. SDM Productions wanted me also to point out that everything on the left I'm pointing out was his, and on the right were files he got online. But he did a lot of heavy editing to these. These he cut off the nacelles, but the bridges, he did a bunch of stuff to the bridge. They're the Reliant bridge, but he, of course, cut out the holes for the windows and the dome, but none of that detail you see on the back were on the original files. I'm not quite sure what else he did besides that, and cut out the little light things on the sides, but yeah, he did some work to these too, but those aren't his original creation, just the stuff on the left. We now have the forward section of our hull cutout, and I did that with a X-Acto blade, not a cutting wheel, but we don't need this anymore, so it took quite a while with the X-Acto. As you can see, it's really thick, and we did lose our forward-facing phaser array, but we'll just build ourselves a new one. You can see how thick that plastic is. Imagine doing that with a X-Acto. It took a few hours. I was going to use SDM Productions 3D printed part, but it was a little too big, and I tried to take it apart after super gluing it. If you're going to use super glue on 3D printed parts, it's not coming apart, so note to everyone. It was a little too big, and that's on me. I gave him the wrong measurements. But luckily, this light strip here was the perfect size, and that is part of the part on the styrene there you see. I used it as a base. So that looks pretty close to perfect there. And again, apologies to SDM for ruining his awesome part. I now have the styrene all in place, and I did use that clear or transparent part that SDM Productions sent me along with the grill as a bulkhead at the front. It was just the perfect size for that. As you can see, I have little styrene on the sides, and yeah, I'm pointing out that it is masked off. That mask will remain on there until I'm pretty much done painting. And I did rebuild the phaser array. And underneath you can see I did wire up those lights as well. It gets a little shrink wrap on there. So everything right here is about ready for paint. Just need to sand down a little bit more of that putty, and we're good to go. And after several hours of cutting, I have those grills in place. Cutting, sanding, getting them to shape. Still have to putty them on the edges, but they look pretty darn cool. There's a big gap in that one. Oof, putty time. Got a bunch more painting done, at least initial painting. I have a nice coat of white as well as a nice thick coat of gloss on that. Still have to do our windows, but looking pretty good. And I have a coat of primer over this. Everything's been puttied and assembled. Still have a little bit of work to do on the seam at the top, but I think that looks really cool. And I thought I'd just show off the bridge. I got some primer on that. That thing looks mean in black. It's kind of tempting to do this as a black ship because that looks really cool. You can see the bridge there on the BC deck. Really like that a lot. But that is going to be it for this week, you guys. Next week we'll be tackling more of the upper hull, the lower hull, getting those windows cut out, getting those grills filled, and hopefully getting to some lighting. I want to thank everyone for watching, and until next time, you guys take care.